Well, the Senate's about to gavel in this morning. Lawmakers will continue work on farm subsidies, food stamps, and conservation programs and policy. Majority Leader Reid has indicated that the Senate could spend several weeks on the 5-year bill with a number of amendments expected. The current farm bill expires at the end of September. And now, here on C-SPAN 2, live coverage of the U.S. Senate.
The Senate will come to order. The chaplain, Dr. Barry Black, will lead the Senate in prayer.
Let us pray. Lord, you reign in robust majesty, and we face our labors with joy in knowing that you are always with us. We rely on your word and celebrate your holiness, mercy, and love. Use our senators today to accomplish your will on earth. Help them to remember that you desire to use them to speak and live for you so that others may find in them the way to you. Be their defender and the keeper of body and soul all the days of their lives. Imbue their minds with your vision of what is best for our nation and world. We pray in your merciful name. Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The clerk will read a communication to the Senate.
Washington, D.C., June 7, 2012. To the Senate, under the provisions of Rule 1, Paragraph 3 of the Standing Rules of the Senate, I hereby appoint the Honorable Tom Udall, a senator from the state of New Mexico, to perform the duties of the chair. Signed, Daniel K. Inouye, President pro tempore.
Mr. President.
Majority Leaders recognized.
I move to proceed to calendar number 415-3240.
The clerk will report.
Motion to proceed to the consideration of calendar number 415, S3240, the bill to reauthorize agricultural programs through 2017 and for other purposes.
Mr. President, we're now on the motion to proceed to the Farm Bill.
Senator's correct.
The time until 10:30 will be equally divided between the two leaders or the designees. At 10:30, there will be a cloture vote on the motion to proceed to the Farm Bill. We hope we can reach agreement for amendments to the bill today. Our following the cloture vote will also be equally divided, with Republicans controlling the first half, majority controlling the final half. Mr. President, here we are again, one of these endless, wasted weeks, because the Republicans are preventing us from going to legislation. We should have been legislating on this bill. This is a bipartisan bill. It's managed by two of our really good senators. A Democrat, Senator Stabenow, chairman of that committee. Pat Roberts from Kansas, who has been in the past chairman of the committee, ranking member of the committee today. They've come up with a really good bill. It saves the country $23 billion. It gets rid of a lot of wasted subsidies. It's a fine piece of legislation. Now, we hear hue and cry constantly from our Republican friends. Let's do something about the debt. This bill does it. $23 billion. So I hope we're going to have a cloture vote. on the ability for us to proceed to the bill, the ability to us to start legislating. Now, I don't need to give a lecture to the presiding officer about how vexatious this is, that we have to do this every time. As a presiding officer, wanted to do something to change this process at the beginning of this Congress. I'll just bet you, Mr. President, if we maintain our majority, and I feel quite confident that we can do that, and the President's reelected, there is going to be some changes. We can no longer go through this every bill. Filibusters on bills that they agree with is just a waste of time to prevent us from getting things done. So enough on that, Mr. President. Just such a terrible waste of our time. There are two bills at the desk due for second readings.
Clerk will read the titles of the bill for the second time.
S-3268, a bill to amend Title 49 United States Code to provide rights for pilots and for other purposes. S-3269, a bill to provide that no United States assistance may be provided to Pakistan until Dr. Shakil Afridi is freed.
I would object to any further proceedings with respect to these two matters.
Objection is heard.
I ask unanimous consent.
The bills will be placed onto the calendar under Rule 14.
I now ask unanimous consent that Nathan Engel, a fellow in my office, be granted 4 privileges for the consideration of 3240 of the Farm Bill.
Without objection.
Would the Chair announce the business of the day?
Under the previous order, the leadership time is reserved. Under the previous order, the time until 10:30 a.m. will be equally divided and controlled between the two leaders or their designees.
It doesn't matter. Time equally divided.
Without objection. Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Akaka.
Republican leader is recognized.
Are we in quorum call?
Yes, we are.
I ask consent that further proceedings on a quorum call be dispensed with.
Without objection.
Mr. President, it's been a week now since the Republican leadership in the Senate and the House sent several good-faith bipartisan proposals to the White House in an effort to resolve the student loan issue. And what has the White House done? Absolutely nothing. The President has not yet responded. Now, one can only surmise that he is delaying a solution so that he can fit in a few more campaign rallies with college students while pretending someone other than himself is actually delaying action. Today, the President is taking time out of his busy fundraising schedule to hold an event at UNLV, where once again he'll use students as props in yet another speech calling on Congress to act. What the President won't tell these students is that the House has already acted and that Republicans in both chambers are ready to work on solutions as soon as the President can take the time. All the President has to do is to pick up his mail, choose one of the bipartisan proposals we laid out in a letter to him last week, proposals he's already shown that he supports. These are pay-fors that he has recommended, and then announce to the students that the problem's been solved. Unfortunately, the President is more interested, apparently, in campaigning with the students at UNLV than actually working with Congress to find a solution. Mr. President, I would suggest you open your mail. Just open the mail. You'll find a letter there from the Speaker and from the Majority Leader in the House and from Senator Kyl and myself laying out a way to pay for the extension of the current tax rates for student loans for another year that you yourself have previously recommended. The only people dragging their feet on the issue are over at the White House itself, dragging their feet in yet another college visit. Republicans here in Congress have been crystal clear on this issue for weeks. We're ready to resolve the issue. It's time the President showed some leadership and worked with Congress to provide the certainty young people and their parents need. I encourage the President, if he really wants to do something to help students, join us. Join us in working to find a solution. This is really pretty easy. We all agree that we ought to extend the current student loan rates for a year. We've recommended to you, Mr. President, the way to pay for it that you've already adopted. This isn't hard. Every day he's silent on solutions is another day closer to the rapidly approaching deadline here at the end of the month. Now, on another matter, I stood with the Speaker of the House yesterday and his conference leadership and called for at least a one-year extension of current tax rates to provide certainty to families and job creators around the country that their taxes will not be going up on January 1st. In the Obama economy, we are facing a looming fiscal crisis that some have called the most predictable in history. Millions are unemployed and millions more are underemployed, and the country is facing the largest tax hike in history at the end of this year. This tax hike the President wants would hit hundreds of thousands of small businesses. To put that in perspective, this tax hike would hit job creators that employ up to 25% of our workforce. Now, we really can't allow that to happen. I think we all know we cannot allow that to happen. The economy is far too fragile right now. Former President Bill Clinton said we're in an economic recession, and earlier this week, before the Obama campaign got to him, he was for temporarily extending current tax rates. Yesterday, the Democratic Senate Budget Committee chairman came out and said he was for temporarily extending current tax rates. And I would remind everyone, it was the President himself in December of 2010 who said you don't raise taxes in a down economy. Well, the economy is slower now than it was when he last agreed with us to extend current tax law back in December of 2010. In fact, the rate of growth in our economy is slower now than it was in December 2010 when the President agreed with us that at that point we ought to do a 2-year extension of the current tax rates. Slower growth now than then. The same arguments apply now. This is the time to prevent this uncertainty and the largest tax increase in American history right in the middle of a very, very fragile economy. It really doesn't make any sense, Mr. President, to do otherwise. Let's extend all of the current tax relief right now, before the election. Let's show the American people we're actually listening to them. Let's send a message that in these challenging economic times, taxes won't be going up for anyone at the end of this year. And let's not stop there. Let's tackle fundamental pro-growth tax reform. This is something upon which there is bipartisan agreement. I think we all agree. It's been over 25 years since we did comprehensive tax reform in this country. It's time to do that again, and we all agree on that. The President thinks that. Republicans and Democrats in the Congress think that. The time to act is now. And if the President is serious about turning the economy around, preventing taxes from going up at the end of the year is one bipartisan step he could take right now. Mr. President, I yield the floor.
Senator from Michigan is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I would ask unanimous consent that the following detailees, Maureen James, Marcus Graham, and Kevin Norton, be granted floor privileges for the duration of the consideration of S. 3240, the Agricultural Reform, Food and Jobs Act.
Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today, the Senate will vote to move forward on the Agriculture Reform, Food and Jobs Act, also known as the Farm Bill. I hope my colleagues will vote, will join us to begin the debate officially on this important jobs bill, because it is so important to 16 million people who get their jobs from agriculture. Our economy has seen some tough times, as we all know. Certainly, we know that in Michigan. But agriculture has been one of the really bright spots, and it's an underpinning of our economic recovery, and we want to keep it that way. If we fail to pass a new farm bill before the current one expires in September, it would cause widespread uncertainty and result in job losses in a very important part of our economy that is critical to keeping our recovery going. Agriculture is one of the only parts of the economy, if not the only part, that has a trade surplus, $42.5 billion in 2011, the highest annual surplus on record. And we know that for every $1 billion in exports, 8,400 people are working. So this is a jobs bill. Mr. President, thanks to the Farm Bill, American families tonight will sit down around the kitchen table and enjoy the bounty of the world's safest, most abundant, and most affordable food supply. And I think it's too easy for all of us to take that for granted. The men and women who work hard from sunrise to sunset every day to put that food on our tables deserve the economic certainty that this bill provides. The Farm Bill before us today makes major reforms. We are cutting subsidies. We are ending direct payments. We cut the deficit by over $23 billion. As my friend and ranking member has said, this is voluntary. This is a real cut, as my budget chairman would say, and it is more than double what was recommended in the Simpson-Bowles Commission. So this is serious. This is real, and we in agriculture, the first authorizing committee to recommend real deficit reduction cuts, we are serious about making sure we are doing our part and that the families and ranchers and people involved in agriculture are doing their part as well. And they're willing to do that. But we have to have economic certainty, because we are talking about creating jobs all across America, in rural areas and urban areas. This Farm Bill gives farmers new export opportunities so they can find new global markets for their goods and create jobs. This Farm Bill helps family farmers sell locally. We are tripling support for farmers markets, which are growing all over this country, and new food hubs to connect farms with schools and other community-based organizations. The Farm Bill provides training and mentoring and access to capital for new and beginning farmers to get their operations off the ground. This really is about the future of agriculture in our country. And as I've said so many times, this is not your father's Farm Bill. This is about the future. It's about, we had 3 young farmers with Senator Roberts and I yesterday, and I can tell you they were so impressive that I feel very confident about the future. But they were saying loudly and clearly, we need to get this done now so that they can plan for themselves and their families. We are also, for the first time, offering support, new support and opportunities for our veterans who are coming home. Mr. President, the majority of those who have served us in such a brave, honorable way in Iraq and Afghanistan come from small towns all across America, and they are now coming home. And many of them want the opportunity to stay at home, to be able to go into farming, to be able to have their roots back in their communities. And we are setting up new support in this Farm Bill to support our veterans coming home. The Farm Bill supports America's growing bio-manufacturing businesses, where businesses use agricultural products instead of petroleum to manufacture products for customers. And I am so excited about this because in my state of Michigan, we make things and grow things, and bio-manufacturing is about bringing that together. And as we move through this bill, I look forward to talking more about that. This bill moves beyond the corn-based ethanol into the next generation of biofuels that use agricultural waste products and non-food crops for energy. This bill provides a new innovative way to support agricultural research. The men and women who every day fight back against pests and diseases that threaten our food supply, with a new public-private research foundation to stretch every dollar and get the most results. We extend rural development with a new priority for those proposing to maximize federal, state, and local and private investments so that small-town mayors, like those who came before our committee across the country, can actually understand and use the program. We're simplifying it. We are going from 11 different definitions of rural down to 1, so it's simple and clear. And small-town mayors and local officials have better tools to be able to use to support their communities. And finally, Mr. President, let me just say one more time, this bill is a jobs bill. 16 million people work in this country because of agriculture. We are creating jobs, we are cutting subsidies, we are reducing our deficit by over $23 billion. I hope our colleagues will join with us this morning in a very strong vote to move forward on this bill. Mr. President, can you give me the time remaining on both sides?
18 minutes on the Republican side and 11 and a half minutes on the Democrat side.
Well, let me first turn to and yield time to, if I might yield, I know that Senator Nelson also wishes to speak. If I might yield 7 minutes, if that's appropriate, with our distinguished budget leader. And introducing him, I want to say, Mr. President, we would not have the thoughtful approach on the alternative in the commodity title that we have today. We know we're going to be working more to strengthen that as we move through the process, but we would not have the strong risk-based approach we have without this senior senator from North Dakota, our budget chairman, and we wouldn't have the energy title that we have that creates jobs without his amendment and his hard work. And frankly, this is somebody that I look to on every page of the Farm Bill because of his wonderful expertise. And I have to say one more time, I'm going to personally and as a senator and chair of the committee, greatly, greatly miss him. When he leaves at the end of the year, I think I may be locking the door so he can't leave. So I'll yield now to the senator from North Dakota.
Mr. President,
Senator from North Dakota.
I thank the chair. I just want to say that she has provided brilliant leadership on this legislation. I'm in my 26th year here. I have never seen a chairman so personally and directly engaged to make legislation happen in an extraordinarily difficult and challenging environment. When the history of this legislation is written, Senator Stabenow, the chairman of our committee, will be in the front rank of those who made this happen. And I just want to express my gratitude to her on behalf of farm and ranch families all across America for the extraordinary leadership she has provided. Mr. President, farm policy has many critics, and they perpetuate a myth about the Farm Bill that it only benefits a handful of wealthy farm and ranch families. The truth is much different. The critics who often look down their noses at hardworking farm families that feed this country don't seem to understand the competition farmers face in the international arena and what an extraordinary success this farm policy has been. The simple fact is our agricultural policy benefits every consumer in America. As a share of disposable income, Americans have the cheapest food in the history of the world. Americans spend less than 10% of their disposable income on food, which is far less than any other country. And the senator, the chairman of the committee, Senator Stabenow, says very clearly, this is not only good for consumers, this is a jobs bill. 16 million people in this country have jobs because of an agricultural policy that has been a stunning success. It is also a bill that helps us compete around the rest of the world. The 2008 Farm Bill has been a tremendous success by any measure. Record farm income, record exports, record job creation. That's the history of the 2008 bill. It's contributed to the strong economic performance of American agriculture. As you may recall, it passed with an overwhelming bipartisan majority, and it was paid for. It was paid for. We actually reduced a little bit of the deficit with that legislation. That strong safety net created by the 2008 bill has enabled American farmers to continue to produce food for our nation, even while facing tremendous market and weather risks. Critics of farm policy also imply the Farm Bill is busting the budget. That is simply false. Farm Bill spending is only a tiny sliver of the overall federal budget. Total outlays for the new Farm Bill are about 2% of total federal spending. And of the Farm Bill spending, only about 14% goes to commodity and crop insurance programs. Mr. President, the vast majority of the spending in this bill goes for nutrition. 79% of the spending in this bill goes for nutrition programs. Only 14% goes for what could traditionally be considered farm programs. Mr. President, the farm provisions constitute less than 1/3 of 1% of total federal spending. That is a bargain for American consumers and taxpayers. The truth is, our producers face stiff international competition. In 2010, our major competitors, the Europeans, outspent us almost 4-to-1 in providing support for their farmers and ranchers. And the EU is not the only culprit. Brazil, Argentina, China, and others are gaining unfair market advantages through hidden subsidies, such as currency manipulation, market access restrictions, and input subsidies that the WTO is incapable of disciplining. The reality is that farming is a risky business. Not only do farmers and ranchers have to deal with unfair global competition, they also have to face natural disasters and unpredictable price fluctuations. The Senate Agriculture Committee, working together in a bipartisan way, will contribute over $23 billion to deficit reduction. That is twice as much as the Simpson-Bowles Fiscal Commission recommended. Twice the savings the Simpson-Bowles Commission recommended. In so doing, this committee has provided more than its fair share of fixing this country's deficit and debt problems. If the rest of the committees of Congress did what this committee has done on the leadership of Senator Stabenow, there would be no deficit and debt problem. That's a fact. Now, Mr. President, this is also a reform bill. This is the strongest reform bill that has gone through a committee of Congress in the history of farm legislation. And the chairman and ranking member can be incredibly proud of the leadership they've provided. This legislation streamlines conservation programs, reduces the number of programs, and makes them simpler to understand and administer. It reauthorizes important nutrition programs for 5 years, helping millions of Americans. I also want to thank Senator Lugar, Senator Harkin, and the 8 other sponsors on the Ag Committee for joining me in an amendment to continue funding for key rural energy programs. We're spending almost $1 billion a day importing foreign energy. How much better off would we be as a nation if that money stayed here in the United States? Instead of looking to the Middle East, if we could look to the Midwest for our energy supplies. And this legislation will help move us in that direction. In addition, I want to thank Senator Baucus and Senator Hoeven for working with me to pass an amendment that will improve the bill for farmers in our part of the country. I'm also pleased the new Farm Bill will continue the livestock disaster programs that are so important to our ranchers when feed losses or livestock deaths occur due to disaster-related conditions. Mr. President, how much time do I have remaining?
Ma'am, your time has expired, sir.
Let me just end on that point. I'll put the full statement in the record. I thank the chairman and I thank the chair.
Well, you just take care of your job.
My time is up, so I'm going to let them 4 minutes.
Okay.
And then we'll be back.
Mr. President, how much time do we have on the Republican side?
18 minutes, sir.
18?
18.
18. Thank you. Mr. President, I yield myself 6 minutes.
Without objection.
Mr. President, I rise today in support of the cloture vote on the motion to proceed on the Farm Bill. Let me point out what the distinguished chairwoman and the distinguished senator that has just spoken has already pointed out, and it bears repeating. I know it is somewhat repetitive if people have been paying attention to the remarks that we have had here prior to this vote, but this is a reform bill at a time in which reforms are demanded. It saves $23.6 billion in mandatory spending. They're real cuts. They are real deficit savings. It accomplishes this by reforming, reducing, and streamlining programs. We eliminate 4 commodity programs. These programs are very difficult to go through at the FSA office, the Farm Service Agency that we have. And so when farmers come in to try to wade through the 4 commodity programs, they've always been terribly difficult and complex. We streamline the 23 conservation programs into 13 and eliminate duplication. We tighten a major loophole in nutrition programs. We cut 16 rural development authorizations.
We cut over 60 authorizations in the research title and streamlined programs. In whole, we cut and streamlined over 100 programs. Now, show me another committee that has done that on a voluntary basis. There isn't any. In the House or the Senate, we've had speech after speech after speech after speech, heartfelt speeches. Why can't you work together back there in Washington and do what's right for the American people and quit spending money we don't have? We had a super committee that worked on this for a considerable amount of time. I don't question anybody's intent that had that tough job. At that time, we offered to the super committee a package that could have been done at that particular time. But we did it. And we, meaning the chairwoman, myself, and members of the committee and staff as well, who worked extremely hard. So there hadn't been anybody else that has come forward and said, here is real deficit reduction. That's why we should support the motion to proceed. We have made the tough decisions because that's what you do in rural America, whether it's Michigan, Kansas, or in the Dakotas, or in Nebraska, because that is what you do when budgets are tight and you need to get things done. Those in rural America are also why we need to get this bill done. The current law expires September 30. How many things around here are in purgatory? Tax extenders, the tax bill, what we call the tax cliff that we're looking over here if we don't get things done. The specter of a lame duck Congress in 3 weeks trying to get things done like that. And you put folks in purgatory where they can't make any decisions. Well, it would be a disaster in rural America if we do not pass this law before we revert back to the permanent 1949 law. That law in no way reflects current production or domestic and international markets, and I would say even if we extend the current law, it does not really reflect what we need as of today. That law goes back to base acres 25 years ago. We're talking about planted acres as of today. So basically, it would be government-controlled agriculture on steroids, and it would also mean that virtually all programs in the current law would expire. We can't let that happen. We need certainty. Farmers need certainty. Ranchers need certainty. Bankers need certainty. Everybody up and down every main street in rural America needs certainty. Agribusiness needs certainty. We need it because our farmers and ranchers and their bankers need to know what the Farm Bill and the programs are going to look like. In farming, you have to go to your banker every year to get an operating loan for the coming year. Now, we raise winter wheat in Kansas. We're known for that. Kansas is known as the wheat state. It will be planted in September. That means farmers will be going to their bankers as early as late July, next month, early August, to get their operating notes for the coming year. Now, without certainty in the Farm Bill, it is more difficult to make any economic projection, and it is more difficult for farmers to obtain loans and for bankers and farm credit to provide that credit. That's why we need to get it done now, in their behalf. Rural America needs to know the rules of the game. Just as importantly, American taxpayers are demanding government reforms and reduced deficit spending. This bill delivers on both fronts. It is true reform. Let's get this bill done. I urge my colleagues to vote for the motion to proceed. I reserve the balance of my time.
President.
Senator from Michigan.
Before turning to the distinguished senator from Nebraska, I just want one more time to say what a pleasure it has been and continues to be to work with the senior senator from Kansas. This has really been a partnership effort. It's really been a strong bipartisan effort, and I look forward to continuing to have that be the case. And so as we move through to get the bill done. Now I'd like to yield up to 5 minutes to the senator from Nebraska and thank Senator Nelson for his strong advocacy for rural development, for helping us make these true reforms. He's been a strong advocate for the reforms in the commodity title, moving us to a risk-based system. He's been a strong advocate for crop insurance and for conservation, EQIP, things that are important, I know, to Nebraska. But this is also, Mr. President, someone that we are going to dearly miss on the committee and in the Senate at the end of the year. I think I may put the senator from Nebraska and the senator from North Dakota in a room together, lock the door, and not let them leave, because they are both so invaluable. So, the senator from Nebraska.
Well, Mr. President, thank you, Madam Chair.
Without objection, the senator is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you. Madam Chair, I thank you so much for your strong efforts in bringing together this very important reform bill. We're moving in the right direction now with farm policy, moving away from protectionism, moving away from outmoded programs to something that certainly is in today's world important. That is a safety net, but a safety net that involves risk management as opposed to direct farm payments. This is particularly important to the state of Nebraska and all of our producers. We're number one in production of many commodities, from red meat to great northern beans. Second in the nation in the production of ethanol, pumping more than 2 billion gallons of this homegrown fuel into our energy supply every year. Our productive farmers and ranchers in Nebraska make us fifth in the nation in agricultural receipts, while nearly 1/3 of all Nebraska jobs are related to agriculture. It's our number one industry. And giving that importance to my state, I really appreciate the work that's been done and the strong bipartisan support of 16-5 to put out the committee to the floor, out of the bill out of the committee to the floor. And truly it is about reform. It creates a market-oriented safety net. It eliminates direct farm subsidy payments. It streamlines and simplifies and consolidates programs, and at the same time creating jobs for helping our economy grow. Now, I'd like to emphasize one point again. This major reform moves us away from government controls on production and moves us toward the private market to help sustain American agriculture, going in the right direction. It does all that while also making, as has been noted, a substantial contribution, more than $23 billion, to deficit reduction. That sets the example of how Washington can begin to get our fiscal house in order. Our bipartisan work in the Ag bill is important. It demonstrates that we can work together, and particularly when it comes to deficit reduction and finding new ways to do things in a different way. Now, turning to the reforms, by ending duplication and consolidating programs, the bill eliminates more than 100 programs or authorizations. It contains strong payment limitation language. Funding programs for those who don't need them is nothing short of agricultural welfare. Producers in my state understand that we can't keep funding programs for those who don't need them, nor should we. They understand that we do need to fund programs for those who are in need, particularly given our national fiscal problems. We need to prioritize better. So the bill ends those outdated subsidies in ensuring that farmers won't be paid for crops they aren't growing on land they aren't planting, and ends direct farm payments, saving taxpayers $15 billion on that program alone. That's a lot of money, even in Washington terms. And as we end those subsidies, the Farm Bill establishes that crop insurance will be the focal point of risk management, as it should, by strengthening crop insurance and expanding access so farmers are not wiped out by a few days of bad weather. This allows farmers and ranchers on their own to select the best risk management for their production needs, rather than having to rely on the sometimes goodwill of the government to bail them out in periods of volatility. And at the same time, one of the greatest challenges farmers face is the risk that prices will decline or collapse over several years. When things are good, people never expect them to go bad. When they're bad, they're worried they'll never go good. Insurance just won't cover multi-year price plunges. This leaves farmers exposed to high costs and low prices, and that can put them out of business. So, in the Ag Committee, we work to address this risk by creating the Agricultural Risk Coverage Program, a program that provides producers with a very simple choice to determine how best to manage their operations risk. It seeks to strike a better balance with this market-oriented approach. We want farmers to stay in farming, but we don't want them to farm federal programs. To conclude, this is a solid, reform-minded start. In my mind, it strikes the right balance between the need to cut spending while maintaining a strong safety net to ensure a stable supply of food, feed, fuel, and fiber. It's my hope that we will act on this bill soon and that the House will follow. With that, I yield the floor. Thank you.
Mr. President, I suggest the absence of a quorum.
Clerk will call the roll.
And both sides.
Only Republicans have time remaining, ma'am. Without objection, the clerk will call the roll.
Shirkaka.
Mr. President,
The Senator from Kansas.
I ask unanimous consent the quorum call be vitiated,
Without objection.
and I yield the remaining time to the distinguished chairwoman and thank her so much for this team effort that has brought this excellent farm bill to the floor of the Senate.
Mr. President.
Senator from Michigan.
As we bring this time to the close, I just once again want to thank my ranking member and friend, Senator Roberts. I want to thank all the members of the committee. We had some tough negotiations. We had a strong bipartisan vote. As with any farm bill, there are still improvements we can make, and we're committed to doing that as we move forward. But overall, what we see before us is a true reform bill, cutting over $23 billion in the deficit, the first authorizing committee to do that, cutting or consolidating over 100 or about 100 different authorizations or programs that, frankly, is unheard of. And we've done that while strengthening the farm safety net, moving to a risk-based system, strengthening conservation. I'm very proud that we have 643 different conservation groups supporting this. And all together, we are moving forward on a strong agricultural reform, food, and jobs bill. And so, Mr. President, I hope colleagues will join us in a very strong vote to proceed on this bill. Thank you.
All time has expired. The clerk will report the motion to invoke cloture.